Tigray People's Liberation Front has issued a very strong statement last night. The statement was issued. It is full of allegations against the federal government of Ethiopia. What does this statement indicate? Does it mean that the stalemate is existing, that the two sides could not start any talks, that tensions are there? We'll have a detailed look at what TPLF is saying. Before that, a quick look at a new story in circulation about the likely formation of a NATO style Arab countries, Middle Eastern countries force in the Middle East. It is being reported by Israeli sources, Israeli news sources, that Egypt and some other countries, Middle Eastern, and Egypt is not in Middle East, Arab countries and Middle Eastern countries, they are working to form a NATO-like alliance to protect themselves. And Israeli sources say that this alliance is being considered after Israeli strikes on Hamas fighters in Qatar. You know that 3 days ago, Israel conducted strikes on Hamas leaders in Doha, Qatar. Qatar threatened to respond, no response from Qatar so far. Americans tried to distance themselves from the attack, but obviously they were on board. Question is, can Middle Eastern Arab countries, non-Arab countries, form a NATO-like alliance? Well, it would be ridiculous to say that they're in a position to form a NATO-like alliance. Why? Because each of these Arab leaders, excluding a few, are at the mercy of Americans. They are American stooges, to be honest. Americans are providing military support to them, and these countries fear that if they oppose Americans, Israel could target them. So I am not seeing formation of such an alliance. These Middle Eastern leaders lack internal acceptance to in their countries. They are ruling without elections, monarchies in some countries, no freedom of expression there. There is no unity internally or externally. People, though they are living good lives economically, but they're not free to express themselves. Such countries where there is no genuine leadership, they cannot make big decisions. And when you are using American weapons, American technology, American military support, how can you form such an alliance against Israel, which is backed by Americans? American military presence is spread across the Middle East, in Turkey, in Qatar, in other countries, in Syria, in Iraq, there is American military presence. Other countries too, of the Middle East. So the formation of NATO-like alliance in the Middle East, the Middle Eastern countries against Israel, is just a dream, I think. Back to the main story, viewers. TPLF, Tigray People's Liberation Front, has issued a statement. TPLF and the federal government of Ethiopia are at the loggerheads. They entered into talks last year. They tried to solve issues, but after former President Getachew Reda's removal from Tigray, relations between the federal government of Ethiopia and TPLF worsened. Getachew Reda was removed in March. Since March, I have not been able to confirm a single engagement between TPLF and Prosperity Party. TPLF and federal government to solve outstanding issues. And one of the main issues is the restoration of TPLF's status as a political party. TPLF is not an eligible political party now. Its status has been cancelled by the National Election Board of Ethiopia 2 days ago. General Tadesse Verede voiced his support for the restoration of TPLF status, but no signs of restoration of TPLF status. TPLF last night issued a statement, a weekly statement. After every week, TPLF issues a statement about the situation internally in Tigray. This statement is one of the strongest statements against the Ethiopian government, showing the gravity of the situation and rising tensions between TPLF and the federal government. The statement starts with accusations against the Ethiopian government. And in this statement, if Abiy's government is being addressed as Ethiopian government, as if it's a foreign government. TPLF says that Ethiopian government has set aside all agreements. Ethiopian government is not following any agreement which it signed with TPLF. It means that TPLF is saying that Pretoria is not being implemented. Other agreements signed between TPLF and federal government are not being signed, are not being respected and implemented by the federal government of Ethiopia. Firstly. Secondly, TPLF's second accusation against the federal government is that federal government is engaged in promoting agendas to increase the suffering of the people of Tigray who have gone through a genocide. This genocide term is back, by the way. When TPLF federal government relations improve, TPLF does not use the word genocide. But when relations deteriorate, TPLF starts accusing the federal government of having committed a genocide of Tigrayans. Thirdly, TPLF says that Ethiopian government is not withdrawing armed groups from Tigray's sovereign territories. Rather, the federal government is training and arming these armed groups. So here TPLF is talking about Western Tigray, that in Humera Volkai, Sagede, Amhara militias are not being withdrawn. Rather, more recruitments are underway and federal government is providing weapon support to Takeze guards of Colonel Demeke Zedu. Fifthly, TPLF says that Ethiopian government is organizing, arming and training forces in coordination with traitors. Here TPLF is talking about TPF, Tigray Peace Force, that the federal government of Ethiopia is supporting some Tigrayans who have defected. TPLF is calling them traitors. That TPF, Tigray Peace Force, is being armed, trained by the federal government of Ethiopia. And lastly, TPLF is accusing the federal government of launching massive propaganda campaign against TPLF and the people of Tigray. And at the end of the statement, TPLF is calling for unity in Tigray, saying that there is need for internal unity. TPLF, which represents people of Tigray, it wants peace. But peace cannot come if one side is interested in peace only and the other side is against peace. The peace can only come if both sides are committed to peace and they promote peace and they implement agreements. How to analyze this statement by the TPLF? Well, the statement is a proof that TPLF and federal government are still at the loggerheads. All issues are unsolved. All issues include restoration of TPLF status as a political party, determination of the status of Honorable Guy Sagade, return of IDPs, issue of the Tigray peace force operating in the Afar region. All these issues are unsolved, no progress has been made. That is why TPLF is publicly accusing Ethiopian Federal Government of violating all the agreements. Talks should start. I would again say talks should start between the federal government and the Tigray government, between the Prosperity Party and the TPLF. Thank you for watching.